in order to read better. Some children actually find it hard to read under fluorescent lights, and you'll see some kids, move their... Yeah. And I remember on one occasion, a 15-year-old boy years ago being referred to me for reading problems. And when he came, he was almost getting nose burn, and I said, "Oh, did you leave your glasses at home?" And his parents said, "Well, he doesn't have glasses." And he did the next time he came back. It was interesting because his problem was really, but people would have observed that. I don't think people actually realise what it means. You'll get a lot of information about a child's reading ability, particularly their sensory, from their posture. I would always watch, and I'd also watch the kids as they read, because there'll be some kids who'll go like this. What will they do? Or, they'll be moving. Well, now I do. If I want to read that, I'll do that. I'm not exactly the elastic lad, so, but they're all indicative of where, of how the kid's going about reading. So just over the next, say, 20 minutes, I'd like to look at teaching paraphrasing, and then I would like us before, say, from about 11:30 onwards, to look at putting together paraphrasing and visualising, embedding it in this text. Is really acting as a summary paragraph. You know how you have topic sentences? Well, one idea I'd be really pushing to the kids would be in these, in this Humanities Alive, in that series, Humanities Alive, Science Alive, often the first paragraph operates as a topic paragraph. That first paragraph sums up what the whole 2 pages are going to be about. And so at some point, either you have the children tell you that, or you tell them that's how it operates. So it might be that we don't read that at the beginning, we might read it at the end, or else we might read it at the beginning and then stop and say, okay, what are the key ideas here? If I've interpreted that top paragraph correctly, what's the rest of it about? What's it going to tell me? So, if we look at that, deserts, like other ancient civilization, the civilization of ancient Egypt developed around a river, the Nile. Okay, and we could stop there and say, okay, what's it telling us? What's that about? And so what is it telling us?
You need a river to set up a city.
Okay, you might need a river to set up a city. You need to be close to water. And one thing we know from this text, one literal thing is, ancient Egypt grew, starting to paraphrase, ancient Egypt grew near the Nile, beside the Nile, and also, what's the text also telling us? Other cultures developed near the Nile. So if we were looking at the ancient Vietnamese culture, could that have developed near a Nile? Could it? Yeah. Did ancient indigenous cultures in Australia develop around a river? Did they? Some did. But there was also the nomadic aspect. So we could say, we could say, if we wanted to get all inferential at this point, and we could say, did every ancient culture develop around a river? Or did some ancient cultures use the river, but then go elsewhere? So how do we define civilization? So does a civilization only develop in a stagnant context? Do you like that? Do you like that, guys? Are civilizations stagnant from birth? Okay, that's a good idea. It's an interesting idea. An interesting idea. We won't pursue it at this point. But in relation to this text, I'd be keen to have the students, individual students, reading each sentence And then after we've read each sentence, we act on it in particular ways. When we get to the end of a paragraph, what do we know now? What questions can we answer now that we couldn't have answered earlier? So as well as doing all the getting knowledge ready stuff for the questioning, we can look at the questioning in the context of this. Now, with each of the reading actions, the paraphrasing and the visualising, the summarising and so on, we can teach each of the actions on a whole class basis, but obviously we could teach each of the actions in small groups or individually. And I've said to you, already, and I really want to push this, that we have the students learn the actions, learn each action, ultimately independently. And the sequence that I'm suggesting we use for getting at this automaticity is that first of all, we scaffold the students to use each strategy. Then we have them saying in words what they did and how it helped them. Then we get them a bit later to say what they're going to do before they begin to read, and then do it and see how it went. And then we have them doing it automatically when I tell them to, and then I want them to be doing it without me telling them. Is that okay? Remember when Linda was talking about how she did this with her class last year, her grade 4 class? She actually moved the students very effectively through that sequence. Those of you who are in the earlier reading sessions, that's really what she was pushing. But that's the key action. If I'm wanting the students to be using the strategies independently, they need to be able to tell me what they're doing. They need to be able to say what the action is. First of all, they need to be able to say it after I've told them to use it. Then they need to say they're going to use it before they begin. Then they need to be telling themselves to guide their way through it, and then managing it automatically. And this, of course, is just a procedure for teaching kids how to think automatically. If I'm wanting children to learn any way of thinking independently, ultimately, they need to go through this sequence. Is this okay? And then we've got our scaffolding. Remember we went through this last time? We have the students. The Nile was the lifeblood of ancient Egypt. Imagine you're standing beside the Nile. What would you be seeing? What would you be hearing? Then we have the students get their verbal knowledge ready. What questions might the text answer? What words might come up? How would you say some of the key ideas and sentences? Here are some key words from the text. What do you think that paragraph might tell you about? And then we bridge over to the text and look at the text that I had up there, saying the title in other ways, Lifeblood of Ancient Egypt. How could you say that in other ways? What do the pictures show you? What will you do as you read it? And then we're going to have the children reading a sentence aloud, and I'm going to work on them listening to themselves as they read it. If we come to any words we may not know the meaning of, I want the students to be able to work out what the word meant. And that was where we're talking about the meaning-making motor. As we read each sentence, I want the students to say the sentence in other ways. I want them to say the picture it helps me make in my mind, and the question it answers. I also want them to tell me the question that 2 or 3 sentences would answer. I want them to, at the end of each paragraph, to be able to say what the main idea of the paragraph is, what they know now they didn't know earlier, what questions they can answer now that they couldn't have, what ideas they've got in their mind. We're going to review the key vocabulary, the key ideas, how they fit with what the students already know, and then we're going to look at automatising the key ideas. And so that would be the 20 minutes of scaffolding, where when we go through this text, we'll go through and apply it.